Hello all, myself Dr. Shanti Verma. In today's tutorial, I am going to discuss printer widgets, frame, check button, radio buttons and slider. In the previous tutorial of printer widget, I already discussed button, labels and geometry package of printer widget. Uh, let's first discuss the learning objective of this session. At the end of this session, you are able to understand frame, radio button, check button and slider toolkit widget using demo. Let's first discuss a message widget. A message widget is used to display text. Basically, this is a widget, not a text window. And this is used to show only instructions or the custom messages in the window. Uh, for uh, uh, for making a message widget, you have to use a message function. For that, you have to first import the printer. Then you have to create a object of the toolkit widget. Then you have to use a message function with a parameter. First parameter is master, second is the text you want to display in the message box. You can configure this message with some options like anchor, expect, background color, background width, font, etc. For that you have to pass that parameter like font equals to times and the font size is 40. Now the next step to pack this message on the window. For that you have to write message dot pack. Then you have to create a main loop. For that you have to write master dot main loop. It basically waiting for the event to occur in the windows. Now let's discuss our entry widget. Basically, this entry widget is used to enter or display a single line of text. For if you want to display a multiple line of text, then you have to use a text widget. So entry is only used for single line text. For that, you have to use a entry function. For you have to this write entry and pass this one parameter, that is master, that is a compulsory parameter. Then you have to pack and then you have to waiting for event, you have to write master dot main loop. This gives you a one entry box where you can write numbers or a text in a single line. Now let's take a demo of the entry. Basically, in this entry, you have to first create a toolkit widget. Then you have to use an entry with this master. Then you have to pack. Then after that, I have to create a one button. And when this button is called, the message is display that you have entered in the entry box. You can see I have created a one function that name is callback, and in that function I print e dot get function. It takes entry value in the entry box and display using the print. Then I have created a one button that name is get with some width, and in command I have to call a function callback. Then pack this button on the window and then wait for event using main loop. You can see here in the window there is a one entry box. When you enter any number in a single line in the entry box and press on the get button, you have to your message, your entry box text is displayed on the script. Now let's discuss the frame widget. Frames are basically used as a containers for the other widgets, means you can place the other widgets on the frame. Basically, you can have a multiple frames per window. There are different options that you can use with a frame like background color, background width, cursor height, height color, relief, width, etc. Now let's take a one demo of the frame widget. You can in this program I take two frame, and in the first frame I display three buttons like red, brown and blue, and in the next frame I take a one button that name is black. For that you can see here that there is a one first frame declared, that is frame equals to frame root. Then you have to pack this frame, then you have to declare another frame that name is bottom frame, and then pack this bottom frame. For packing this bottom frame you have to give the dimension that is side equals to bottom, otherwise it centrally place this bottom frame. Now in the first frame you have to create a three buttons. First button name is text, second button name is brown, and third button name is blue, and you have to left align all this button using the pack method. Now you have to create a next button in the bottom frame. You can see here I pass this bottom frame, while in the previous button I pass this frame. So these red, brown and blue are the placed in a frame, while this black is placed in a bottom frame. And then while packing you can place it as a bottom, side equals to bottom. You can see in the window that there are three buttons, that is red, brown and blue, that is in the upper frame, while black is in the bottom frame. Now let's discuss check buttons and radio buttons. Check buttons are basically used for multiple choice situations. That is choosing m of n possible actions, and basically this is done by assigning each checkbox a variable to its own. While the radio buttons are used for choosing only one alternative from the n possible choices, and basically these are a mutually exclusive single choice by giving each button a unique value of the same tinter variable. Now let's discuss one demo of the check button. For creating a check button, you have to use a check button method. First, I basically declare a one variable to get the value of that particular check button and print the value of the check button using var.get method. Then I have to create a one toolkit object will, then initialize a one integer variable using var object. Then now next create a check button using this check button method for in the window will, and you have to pass a text that you want to display with this check button, that is text equals to enable tab. Then the variable name is var, and command equals to lambda cb, where lambda is an enormous function, and with that I called a function cb. Then you have to pack this button in pack this button, and then waiting for the event in the window using the main loop. You can see that there is a uh, one checkbox that name is enable tab is created in the window tk. Now let's discuss radio buttons demo. I already discussed that radio button is used to select one alternative from various alternatives. For creating the radio buttons, you have to basically use the radio button method. You can see here in the program that basically first I create a one function that name is change, and in that function I print the value get from the particular option. Now let's initialize a toolkit object in the root. Now I decided basically the values that I put in the options. There are four values. Now let's create a one frame. On that these options are placed. To creating frame I use a frame, then relief equals to raised and the border width equals to 5. Now I create a one variable using the string value because I have to print this string value as an output. Then there are four values, so I have to make a one loop for station in stations. It takes a one value from the station and put in a frame F where the variable equals to val and value equals to station, and then pack these values in the top side of the frame. Now let's pack the frame. This F dot pack the frame. Now let's create a one button new, that name is new in the window, and command is to lambda equals to change. So basically when you click on the new button, it take the value selected by the user and print it. Now let's set the value to wall. So you have to initialize which value currently selected in the radio button. So I selected the value wall is the default value. Now you have to create a main loop for waiting for the event. You can see here that there are four options available, and the click is on the first wall. When you click on the any other options and press the new button, it display the value selected by the user. Now let's discuss a slider widget. Basically a slider is a tinted object which can use by a user to set a value by moving an indicator. Slider can be placed vertically and horizontally both. Using a scale widget creates graphical objects and allow you to select a numerical value by moving a knob. The minimum and maximum values can be set as a parameters of the sliders. We can also determine if you want the slider vertically or horizontally. Basically, a scale widget is a good alternative to an entry widget if the user is supported to put in a number from a finite range, that is a bounded numerical value. Let's take an example of the slider. To creating a slider, you have to use a basically scale method. In this example, you can see that I first create one toolkit object, that name is master. Then I create a basically two sliders using the scale method. Here the range I given is from 0 to 42, and for second the value is from 0 to 200. If you write this wdet pack, it by default plays this slider vertically, and if you make it horizontal, you have to pass another parameter orient equals to horizontal, and then pack this another slider. You can see in the figure that there are two sliders. One is vertical and second is a horizontal. Now let's take another example where I can demonstrate label, button and slider both. You can see there in the example I take one function, that name is resize, having the parameter ev equals to none, and basically the label is config using the font name, and the basically get the value from the parameter function and print it. Now let's take one initializer one toolkit widget using one object top, then decide the geometry value, means the height and width, that is 250 by 150. Then create a one label using the dimension of label is top, the value is a text hello world, and the font is a this font. Now pack this label using label dot pack and fill equals to y, so it make the size same as the label. Now let create a one slider using the scale function. The position is a top from 10 to 40, means the slider range is 10 to 40, and orientation is horizontal, and command is a resize. So it takes a basically font according to the resize function. Now basically set scale at 12, means 10 to 40, in between 20 to 40 there is a one range, one value 12, and set this value as a 12 by default. Then pack this slider using the pack function. Now let's create a one button quit. I already discussed in the previous slide how to create a button. Then the background is a white, the active background is a red. Means if you click on this button, then the color is red. Then pack this button on the window. You can see here that first one label is display hello world, then a slider is display having the default value 12, and there is a one button that is quit. And if you click on the quit, then quit function is called, and you can out from this window. In this tutorial, I discussed the frame widget, check button, radio button, and sliders of Tinter module. For more learning, you can refer these references. Thank you.